Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, welcome to my live stream. I'm Joshua Kemble. I'm working on page 138 of Not Death But Love, the Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Yeah, turn on this light. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting stream. I'm going to be basically, my allergies are going nuts. But I'm going to be working on coloring page 138 of Not Death But Love, the Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Last live stream, I got through the shading on the page, and that was like early this morning, so there were like 3 people watching, but it was still super fun. If you're tuning in, just, feel free to participate in the chats. It's always fun to kind of hear your guys' thoughts and stuff like that as I'm making art. And without further ado, let's just get into it and let's start working on this comic. We're going to be basically coloring this page. So, boom, I'm here. What you see on the screen is actually a previous page that I had colored. And then I've pulled basically like the line art off of it so that I can look at the flats and kind of steal those flat colors for my next page. So this is page 137. That's the page that preceded it. And this is the page that we finished today. So, like early in the morning. And then I slept, and then I woke up, and I'm recovering from my from my wounds from fixing the dryer in our garage. I don't know if you can see this, dude. It like ripped up my arm. Yeah, I don't know if you see that. It's like a bunch of different cuts and stuff. It's very, very frustrating. But I'm recovering, and our dryer is fixed. So that's how much I care about dry, crisp clothes. So that's the dryer update. I don't think we're here to talk about dryers, though. I think you guys are here to watch me make art and kind of hang out and make comics. So let's make comics together. Let's make this happen. I'm wondering... The lighting gets all weird, man. All right, so let's work on some comics. So here I'm gonna basically start by what I usually do when I start flats that I did at the very end of the night is I will kind of select everything within the panel borders, right? So that it's basically got that going. And then I'll lock the transparent pixels so it's almost like I can't go outside of those shapes. I'm going to also probably, under these word balloons, make another layer that's just like a flat white. And then we're going to start getting into just kind of coloring this. This shouldn't take too much. Thomas said, I wake up at 4:15 a.m. for work. I thought YouTube messed up when it said you had a live stream. Yeah, I just, I'm going to be on weird hours all summer because I just have to, like, nonstop make these pages. And I want to be really clear, this is not a complaint. This is something I would choose, even if I didn't have a publishing deal for it. I love working on comics. Comics are super fun to work on. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to find this, and we're going to start just kind of deselecting some stuff. So I'll take off the shading that we did yesterday just to look at the line. And I'm going to kind of deselect areas that I'm pulling from my other scene. So the key of this is I don't want to like make every single layer or every single page like deviate from the colors that are being used. So to keep the colors consistent, once I've established a scene and it's at the same time of day or something like that, then what I'll do is kind of pull the colors from the previous pages, which makes sense. Some people may not know to do that, though. It's weird. It's like there are some times where I've been doing this so long, and this has been one advantage of teaching Art 1 at the high school level, is it's gotten me better at explaining things that seem really obvious to me because I've just been doing this for so long. That are new to other people, right? Like it's like I think I talked about this this morning, where sometimes there's like jargon. Let's say you were a plumber for like, 20 plus years, and you're like, just use the fungada being with the bunga bagong, whatever it is, and like to another plumber that makes perfect sense because they're like, oh, I know what that is, but like with somebody who's not a plumber, they're just like, what is like a torque wrench or whatever it is that they're referencing. I'll find myself doing that a lot, where I'll use a term that just seems really obvious, or like when I'm coloring a comic, it seems pretty obvious to me to try to keep the colors consistent because people use color to identify characters. And so if you think of the perfect example of this is like, Peanuts by Charles Schulz. Like, it's like all the colors kind of stay consistent with the characters, and that makes it easy to identify the characters. So a good rule of thumb is you can do this the lazy way and the way that I'm doing it. Some artists will, get really intricate and they'll end up doing, let's see here, what was I going to color? Okay, I'm going to do the rooftops now. Some artists will get really intricate with what they're doing and even create like swatches for, characters and stuff like that. For me, I have the settings changing enough to where it's just quicker for me to pull from previous pages. But I have to admit, like, in a future project, I might end up using the swatch thing. Because I used to use that as an art director. If you were going to use a certain color palette over and over again, it just made sense to, like, literally make and save your own swatches related to whatever project you were working on. But in this case, just eyedropping from previous pages works pretty well for me. They have all the CMYK levels the way I like them. And then testing out. This is something I really do think more artists should do. If you're working for print, a lot of people will just work digitally and then wait for like the published book to like see it in print. And I think that's kind of insane. Like, it's a smart idea. It's a smart idea to print. If you're working for print your stuff out on a CMYK printer as you go. Now it's not going to come out exactly like that when you go to offset at all. Like offset printing is always like printing is basically always going to have a variation of like 10%. I'd say it used to be like 20%, but I think printing technology has improved. But regardless, you even within that 10% variation, just printing it out and seeing how your little inkjet printer handles the colors, the CMYK levels that you've put into it, is a really good idea, because something that looks great on the screen might end up looking really boring and crappy in print. Thomas was saying, I remember when making geological maps for school, it was nice having a PDF of all the official colors to sample from. So if you guys missed yesterday's stream, that's a good point, Thomas. Maps are a really good one to create like swatches and stuff. Just, like if you're working on a big project like that where you're going to have iconographic colors and stuff like that. That reminds me of a joke from like early this morning that most of you probably missed, so I'm going to mention it. Or maybe it was 2 streams ago. I don't know. These streams are all going to start kind of blurring together because I'm going to be doing them almost daily, multiple times a day. But anyhow, so I was talking about how the best art, like I've always been a huge advocate for printed comics. Like I don't like reading comics on a screen. And my ideal world, all comics should be physical books. Like I love physical books. However, that being said, hold on a sec. Let's double check this real quick. Ooh, I messed up there. All right. Well, I didn't mess up yet. I was about to, but I needed to check my previous color palettes. So anyhow, so I was talking about like one of the things, I've said this multiple times on the stream, but I think it might have been Corey. I can't remember who made this argument, but it's a friend of mine. I've gotten in these discussions, the long discussion of like, do you prefer print books or digital books, right? And there have been actually a couple arguments, but the best one I've heard that's the argument for digital books was just one word, which was moving. Because my wife and I have had to move, throughout our relationship. We've been together for a long time, like a long time. About 20 years at this point, a little over 20 years that we've been in a relationship. So that means like we met when we were pretty young and we were living in like crappy apartments. And moving books is just like, man, you do that like 2 or 3 times, with your 50 boxes of books, and then having to set up your bookshelf again. And if you do that enough times, like the argument for just the sheer argument from the standpoint of moving is a very strong one. Anyhow, so then a stream ago, maybe Thomas, was it you who cracked this joke? I know somebody in the chats when I was mentioning this, they brought up a really funny joke, basically saying, "Good rule of life: never help a book a book nerd or a geologist move." And I just thought that was the best joke ever. It led to this whole idea of like Sisyphean movers, like that are rolling like some geologist's like personal geode collection. Yeah, it was Thomas. Yeah, I thought it was you. But anyhow, yeah, that was a great joke. So that stuck with me. I think at some point in life, when I'm done with 2 stories, I think I'm gonna do some like comical comics, some comics that are funny. I think it would be fun to work on humor projects. It's been a long time. I used to do, we had like the old editors. I think both of them have been on Artcasters a long time ago. But I used to do stuff for this magazine called Devastator, and it was great. It was like a Mad Magazine style comic written by comedians and cartoonists, and it was all gags. And so I used to do stuff where I'd collaborate with other writers, or I'd submit bits and get approval, and I did comics for them and illustrations for them for a long time. Oh, Jim was saying, do this thing, J-Boys! Yeah, that's right. And then Jim was saying, H-Boys don't move books, they write them. Well, I thought we were the J-Boys, my dude. I thought we were the J-Boys. Jim, do you have like another name? Do you go by another name that starts with an H? Your other name is like Hector or something. Like it's like your non de plume. You know what I just realized? Hector would be a great name for a character from Hell. Because you know how, like, real conservative folks who don't use language at all, will be like, what in the heck? Hector, straight from heck. Oh, Jim was saying my dad was Hector. Oh, my goodness. Who stinking knew? How amazing is that? Okay, I don't want to get into these broader areas here in the background. Those are like the specific little spots where I could kind of carve out. It'll be easier to do the other spots once I've done the main thingamabop here. I'm using a lot of official terms. Thingamabop, spots. But anyhow, Hector would be a great name for a villain, like or a hero, like a Hellboy type character. But it's somebody. It would have to be like Hector Demon Fire or something. I don't know. I gotta think on it. How are you guys doing this morning? Jim, how's it going? Thomas, how's it going? I am finally being able to enjoy the fruits of my labor as a teacher. There's a couple things that have been the big enjoyment of the fruits of my labor as a teacher. I got a long letter from a student that was, like, it literally brought me to tears. It was like at the end of the semester, and it was just this beautifully written, thank you about how I had inspired them and helped them push their art to new levels and stuff. And that was a big fruit of the labor of teaching, is like, how often do you get to hear that you had like a direct impact on, like a young, person kind of working on developing their identity and their art. How cool is that? But the non-sappy kind of, meaningful side of it is summer. So I'm taking summer off, and I'm able to do that with my new career, which is unbelievably cool. So I get to just do comics all summer, like no distractions. Now, when I say no distractions, you guys know this from, I know this from, prior to being an art director, I was a freelancer, and I would work from home, and I did that for about a decade before being an art director, for about a decade. And when I was working from home, it's like, you would think like, man, working from home, it's so cool, no distractions, you just focus on stuff. But like the thing is, when you're at home, you guys probably know this, like home stuff inevitably happens, like things like the dryer breaking down, and like stuff like that, where, you have your plans and they're all going to kind of get kind of tossed in the air, as, good luck. But this is why, like, I like that book, The War of Art, so much, is, if you go into it knowing that, like, everything on Earth is going to come up trying to kind of pull you away from the thing, whatever it is, it could be working out, it could be anything positive. You're inevitably just going to get faced with, resistance, like, an executive power trying to take over the government and use the federal troop, just standard stuff, like trying to overthrow states using federal power and basically strong arming with, like, weird military style precision. Little normal things, normal things that are going to distract from your ability to do art. And you have to just shut those things off and just kind of work on your stuff, Dude, Thomas said, I do miss having summers off as a teacher. Got to take some nice vacations. Jim said, I'm glad to see you back streaming the Nook creating. Excited. It's coming along nicely. Thank you. And then also, Jim said Leanne fixed our dryer earlier this year. Leanne is a tough cookie. Like, anybody who meets Leanne, she's just she's a cool lady, but she's very, hardcore. Like, I would never want to piss off Leanne. She's a strong woman. And, the fact that she was able to do that dryer thing and didn't end up with an arm looking like that, like that's what happened to me, working on the dryer, was like just getting like shredded by the thing. Just kind of working in there, trying to pull things apart. I didn't even notice all those like, scratches that had happened until, it was too late, like the next day. I bet Leanne did it and came out like just scot-free, like just did it perfectly. Had I known Leanne fixed your dryer, Jim, I would have just asked you to send Leanne up here. But yeah, anyhow, that's hardcore and awesome that Leanne was able to do that, because that is not an easy task. Because I had to like replace like the rollers in the back. The part that was frustrating was, initially, I thought it was just the belt that needed replacement. So there's like a belt that goes around the drum, which is like the big part that, rolls with your laundry in it. And it's like a plastic belt, and it's like $13 at like a Home Depot. And you just open up your dryer, you just put in a new belt, you kind of put it over these pulleys, and it's all done. And so I did that, and then like it would stop, like it would spin and then stop like immediately. And so that's wild. Like, I was like, I followed everything I was supposed to do in these tutorials. So then I look at it, I take the drum out, right, and I look, and there's these pulley wheels that are in the back of the dryer that kind of help it turn, and one of them had like the plastic had worn off the wheel. And so I'm like, crap. So then I look that up, and I get the replacement parts for that. And so I put in these 2 new wheels in the back. And then it's like, still not, like, I follow all the directions and all the tutorials and stuff, and I'm doing everything right. And yet it runs for like 5 seconds. And then I hear the engine running, but the drum stops. And then you smell like, the belt, just some, that smell of like melting plastic from the belt. And it's like, oh man, okay, something's wrong. So finally I go through all of this, and then I finally noticed that on the tutorials, when they put the belt over the pulley that's attached to the motor, there's this little part on the front of the pulley of the motor, and I'm like, why does that look different than the part on the front of the pulley, the front pulley part of my motor? On mine, it's like the exact same model, but it just looks different. Something's off. Finally, I find out that the big problem was that pulley is supposed to have a front part that basically keeps the belt spinning on it. And that thing had just broken off because, it's a 10-year-old dryer. So then I ordered that, and then the problem is the part that broke off is the part that has... I'm not really like a mechanic type of guy, so I'm not sure what the term is, but it's basically like a part for a wrench to go around. It's got like the little hexagonal thing, so you can grab it and turn it. Well, that part on the pulley that's attached to the motor had broken off. So what that meant was I had to strong muscle it. Like I had to like clamp the center of the motor with like one wrench, and then just with pure like another wrench, and just a lot of just aching, just like I had to like basically by force like pinch down on a circular thing that's not meant to be your grip, because the grip part had broken off. It's like losing the top of a screw and then having to remove the screw without the top. Anyhow, so that was like the part that I think I probably got cut up doing, because it was just like, just brutal, like, manual labor. And I'm saying this, to exaggerate it, kind of. It's not an exaggeration for me, but here's the thing. If we had paid a guy to come in who works on these things, he probably could have just easily, like, popped that thing off in, like, 5 seconds. I am not a strong man. So for me, it was, like, crazy. It was, like, hours of work and just, it was nuts. That dryer was, like, it started looking like, that's simple, I can do that. And then it just became... That's a fair point. Jim was saying you could have just used Santeria to fix the dryer. Yeah, that's the problem is I didn't have a goat intestine. Like, you have to have, like, the right goat intestine to kind of perform Santeria to fix dryers. I think that's what's needed. And there's a specific brand of tea that it was out of stock. So I was like, crap, I can't. Like everything in life that I use Santeria to fix, this is just not gonna. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to do this the old school way. Have you guys ever looked into, like, that kind of stuff? Like, that's one of the things I love about this book is it gets into, like, mysticism and spiritualism and stuff. Yeah, Santeria is interesting. I remember going down, like, a rabbit hole about it years ago. I always find that, like, I don't know. I find it interesting that there's people who... I'm not trying to knock these people either, but it's kind of like, to me, I meet people every once in a while who believe in ghosts. And, like, ghosts, like, they'll be like, somebody will tell, like, a ghost story and they get, like, freaked out. They're like, oh man, there's going to be a ghost and it's going to, like, poltergeist my house or whatever. And there's, like, a kid part of me that, like, likes ghost stories and likes the little, like, tingly feeling you get when you think about, like, supernatural stuff and stuff like that. But I think I'm a jaded skeptic when it comes to stuff like that, which is weird because I'm doing this book that's, got seances and stuff. But I think in this book, I relate a lot to Robert Browning's character, who's just an utter skeptic of all of it. And like, so to me, it's always interesting meeting people who just, like, almost unquestioningly, like, believe in, like, these, like, deeper, like, supernatural realms that you can access, like, here on Earth. And I say this as, like, I'm a religious guy. Like, I definitely believe in a supernatural realm, and I do think there are forces at work that maybe we aren't aware of. But I don't think that, like, I don't believe in, like, black magic and like Santeria or like voodoo, like these kind of things. Or ghosts, like, these are things that just don't really. I don't know. Like, I'd need to see, like, real hard evidence to believe in any of that stuff. And so I enjoy the stories, but it's like, it doesn't, like, freak me out because you kind of, I don't know if it makes sense, but I think you have to really believe something's possible to be freaked out by it. Like, I will say I have a mild fear of heights, like, I think a healthy fear of heights. When I was at TCAF and I went on the Toronto, now I'm forgetting what it's called, but, like, the big tower the CN Tower in Toronto. I think it's like the Calgary Tower or something. I can't remember. But anyhow, I went on this thing and it's like 3 times the height of the Space Needle in Seattle. And there was a part of me, like, being up there and just seeing the sheer height of it that, like, felt, like, queasy. But here's the thing, like, I don't think that's a crazy fear because... like, you could potentially, like, it is possible. We do live in a world where somebody could fall from a height that tall, and you wouldn't be looking good at the end of it. Like, it's like a reality that you're afraid of, like a real possibility that, sends terror and shivers. don't get me wrong. Like like I said, it's a mild fear of heights. It's not like a debilitating fear of heights. So I very quickly kind of got over that feeling. But every once in a while when I was up there, you'd get hit with that, like, whew, like just kind of a weird, like, feeling in your gut, like a human instinct or something where it's like, I'm not supposed to be up this high. Like, and that to me makes a lot of sense. Oh, here we go. Jim said, one of my friends who his mother ran a Santeria shop in the 1980s. Interesting. Yeah, and the thing about it that's fascinating to me is I don't, like, judge it. I don't, like even the ghost thing. I don't judge people who believe in ghosts, I almost envy people who can believe in ghosts, because I don't know, like, I've never experienced a ghost. I've never heard a ghost story that was so plausible that it, like, turned me into a believer. Every time I've heard a ghost story or a friend's testimony about seeing a ghost or, whatever, usually it's, like, very quickly and easily debunked with just rational possibilities, like a billion rational possibilities that kind of rule out the one irrational jump. That just doesn't seem like the best explanation for whatever was experienced, So anyhow, it's always interesting to me, like, people who do, like witches, or like people who like, do Santeria, or do, like these kind of, I'm trying to think of what they're called. It's like a ritual or something like that, and think that it's going to be effective or work, like a voodoo doll or something like that. And I know there's, like, some mysticism to it, and I'm sure there are people maybe even watching this that, like, believe hardcore in that stuff. Like, maybe they've even witnessed it work in their lives or whatever. I have just never been a person who can buy it. Jim was saying, how about we open a Santeria car shop? I love that idea. Yeah, just be like, here's what you need. You need some, okay, go to the store, and you just have them get, like, ingredients to, like, cook a breakfast burrito. This is what we're going to do, Jim. This is the double hustle. Like, not only will they pay for the car wash, right, but we also have them get ingredients for breakfast burritos, And, they go to the store, and you're like, it's this rare thing that you have to find at the store. And, like, you describe it, and it turns out you're just describing chorizo. And you're like, I need 5 potatoes, okay? 5 potatoes. And you kind of just go through it, and then at the end, like, you get your, like, Santeria, like, bowl, and, you go out in the wild, you make a, like, out in the forest, and you make a little pyre, like a pyre of fire, and then you just cook a breakfast burrito, and you're like, for this to work, it's really important for me to eat this, consume the entire thing that we've made. And anyhow, that's a possibility, Jim. I'll do it if we include breakfast burritos in the equation. That we then have our paying customers, they would be buying the breakfast burritos for us, and then we would be cooking them up and then eating them and consuming them to fix their carburetor. No, but like that. So here's the thing. It might sound like I'm kind of poking fun at it. I don't mean to be poking fun at it. I actually sincerely think that maybe there is something to it that I just miss, to these things, The other day I went through I went on a little, I should do this again. I should do this on stream at some point. Like maybe make a little playlist that we could all watch together. But I was remembering like the, when I was a kid, there was this whole movement that was led by Tipper Gore of all people, where they were like trying to censor all these bands. Like the Dead Kennedys had an album band, and a bunch of early hip hop bands were getting like lambasted and I think called profanity and not profanity. What's it called when it's like getting slapped with like obscenity laws, and there's this like whole series of documentaries that I had to watch a couple of these as a kid because I grew up in like a Christian school. And so they had like these like PBS style specials where they'd be like, this band, if you listen to this album backwards, it would like basically cause your child to like kill themselves. Because it's like the album backwards is having this special satanic message for these kids, and it's like stuff like that where it was like like people really believed this stuff. There were like whole organizations set up to like try to prevent your kids from like falling into the trap of like satanic music or something. And anyhow, people call it like the satanic panic and stuff. But anyhow, actually, last night when I was working on, before I started streaming, I just kind of went down a rabbit hole and just watched a whole bunch of like old Phil Donahue episodes, and like where he'd have like people on who were trying to censor musicians, and then he'd have the musicians on and they'd like confront them. And then I watched some of the congressional hearings, about like music censorship and stuff. And I don't know. So here's the thing. I'd need to see some really strong evidence to know that was a real thing that these people were panicked about. But there's another part of me that's a little envious of people who can just so quickly just be like, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, they are putting these backwards lyrics. Like, I have no skepticism about this claim at all. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, I get a little jealous of people who aren't skeptical of that kind of thing. Like, I wonder, at the end of the day, I wonder who's happier in life. Like, are people like the kind of person who would just very quickly be like, yep, that makes a lot of sense. That's what's wrong with the teenagers today, is the music has backwards messages that the musicians recorded because they're trying to praise their master, the devil. Like, are those people happier? I kind of think they might be happier than like a guy like me who's just like, I don't know, that just doesn't kind of make sense. Like that, and also it's kind of nonsense. Like I like, not only does it not make sense that a band would do that, but it's also just kind of nonsensical and silly that like by having a word backwards in a song you can cause someone to do anything. Like it's anyhow. So I don't know. It's like the reason I'm obsessed or interested in like cult documentaries too is like I have this like part of me that wonders, is the person who's like knee deep in the cult, are the unicornians truly the happiest people? Is it the people who know the unicornians are false and that it's a cult, or are people who are knee deep in it the truly most happiest people on the planet? I don't know. I guess it's an age old question. I know there's that like whole thing in the Matrix too, right? Where it's like somebody saying like, being ignorant and enjoying your steak in this Matrix or whatever. Here's the thing that sucks about the red pill community. They ruined the Matrix. Like, you can't reference the Matrix without people thinking you're like some weird red pillar, you know? Where they're like, yeah, man, you got to take the red pill, see the truth from the Matrix, man. That kind of thing has ruined like what could be a really interesting idea of like ignorance being bliss, you know? Now I can't even reference that movie because it's overdone online. Ozzy once said, Jim said it, Ozzy once said backmasking. I can barely write the lyrics going forward. Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, you can barely understand Ozzy when he's just talking normal, you know? I mean, that man has trouble forming sentences. How is he going to form backwards sentences, you know? But yeah, I guess why I think like people in those kind of scenarios might be a little happier is I think the real dark stuff of our world is a lot more like mundane than the kind of wild supernatural stuff. But I think that's one of the things that's fun about this book that I'm working on is that this book is kind of about that battle of skepticism versus belief, and it toys with it a little bit. It toys with like, you know, there might be parts of this book where you don't really know whether some of these things that are going to happen in this book are real or fake. Like, there's some things that are going to be clearly fake, like hucksterism, you know, masked as, you know, supernatural. But there is this subtext in this script that I really like, where somebody could read this script and arguably come to the conclusion that you know, that like even though some of these things were, you know, forgery, some of these experiences might have been real, you know. And so that's, I don't know, that's a fun dance to kind of go through. That's a fun dance, you see. I don't know why I'm talking about things like they're fun dances. Are we making a Disney documentary? Look at the joyful dance of the floral, elegant, what are those called? There's like seahorses that look like flowers. I always forget what they're called. Anyhow, it's an elegant dance that the hippopotamus makes as it searches the ocean floor for mud to place on its nostrils. I will remember the name of that stupid seahorse that I forgot the name of. They're really pretty. They have a whole bunch at the Long Beach Aquarium. That's one thing I miss a lot about living in Long Beach was access to things like that aquarium was great. And if you were local, you know, it wasn't too bad to get like a membership and just go to the aquarium. That was really cool. That was like a beautiful aquarium. The Long Beach Museum of Art, the MOLA's up there. Like, there's a whole bunch of like art museums and great stuff up there. But you know what's funny? Here's something I'm noticing as I get older. You know, growing up, I really didn't like the Antelope Valley where I live. And now I do a lot. But it's funny because, like, growing up, I was like, there's nothing to do out here, man. You know, that kind of thing. But then, like, the thing I've realized is, like, wherever you live, there's, like, a million things to do. And generally, you're not going to do a lot of those things because you just live there. So it's like there's things where you're like, maybe you'll do, like, even when I lived in Portland, it's not like we went on these, like the underground tour is really cool in Portland. There's like a whole speakeasy underground tunnel thing from like, you know, way back when. It's not as extravagant as like the Seattle underground, but it's pretty cool. And you'd think like you live there, you go to like that thing all the time, but like nah, you know, generally I'm not going to go to that. I'm just going to be at home working, you know, and then you know, if I am going to something like that, at the end of the day, a lot of it's going to be because I have like family visiting, you know, or something like that. Like I'd have somebody from out of town visit, and then you'd be like, yeah, let's do the touristy stuff. You know, like let's do all the cool things that you can do in this city. In general, I don't know, man. I think generally, like at least when I lived in so when I lived in Portland, you know, we'd go out sometimes, but in general, it's like wasn't much different than living anywhere else. Like we were just kind of working and you know, we do some fun things, and there's things I miss there that we did a lot. Like we did go to Multnomah Falls quite a lot, but I don't know. I think about this sometimes, like where I don't know if you guys have had this too, but like my wife and I lived in Huntington Beach for a while, and when we lived in Huntington, I think we went to the ocean like twice, maybe 3 times. You know, and generally it was for like a friend meetup or something, but it's not like we were going to the ocean all the time. I don't know. That might also just be my personality. Like I'm a cartoonist. I like being at home. I like, you know, if I'm going to work outside of home, it's going to be at like a coffee shop or something. I don't need, you know, crazy beautiful places. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to live by the beach. But it's like, I don't think there's a lot, at the age I'm at, I don't think I need like a sprawling, wild amount of things to do. Jim just said, there is no other stream that will cover Santeria and seahorses. Oh, dude, now I remember, it's leafy sea dragons. Have you ever seen these things? Leafy sea dragons are amazing. Amazing creatures. And that's actually their name. They're called leafy sea dragons. And they're a species of like seahorse. Or a something of seahorse. Santeria and Seahorses is Jim Luhan's next album. I like it. Here's a question for Jim. Did you ever, when I hear Santeria, I often think of, you know, Sublime, you know, because there's that song, I don't practice Santeria. Anyhow. There is a rift in the world of people who absolutely hate Sublime. I know a lot of people who really dislike Sublime. And then I don't know. I really like, I really like Sublime. Before you know, I don't like it like the stuff they're doing now. You know, with the guy's son. But like originally, the OG Sublime. You know, it was like it was good. It was good music. Anyhow, I'm curious, Jim, your thoughts on Sublime. Do you like Sublime? Do you feel like it's kind of like frat boy music? I want to know. All right, so we are literally just busting through flat colors. That's what we're going to be doing this entire stream and talking about seahorses and Santeria. Maybe I'll pull up a picture of a leafy sea dragon so you guys can see how amazing these things are. All right, so we are getting through here. We're making progress. I'm basically deselecting all the skin tones on this. Jim, what are you working on, my dude? So, another interesting thing. For those of you who don't know, you can probably tell because I have like really gross teeth. I used to smoke about a pack a day of cigarettes when I was younger. And then I quit smoking and started vaping like right when vapes were like brand new. And it seemed like a real, solid alternative to smoking. Which, from what I understand now, I'm no doctor, so please do not take what I'm saying. But I do think it's a little bit healthier than straight up cigarettes. They're extremely unhealthy, but I think it is significantly healthier than cigarettes. Anyhow, so then I vaped for like years and years and years, and then a couple years back, and I announced this on stream. I quit vaping for like half a year, and it was awesome. And then for some reason, excuses, whatever, I kind of picked the habit back up. Well, okay, so I took my son to a Dodger game. I think it was about a week and a half ago. Took him to a Dodger game, and I brought my vape with me, so that like during the Dodger game I could like sneak out, have a e-cigarette basically, then get back to the game, and then basically they had like a metal check at the doorway, like a metal detector kind of thing, and it like would it. You had to put like any objects in the little tray. Jim said, I like Sublime. Doing Time is an all-time fave. Yeah, I love Sublime. I really do enjoy them a lot. I think they were just a great band. Now, I do think I'm a little biased because, like most people I know who lived in Long Beach, there's just a Long Beach love of that band. Like it's kind of unusual if you live in Long Beach to dislike Sublime. At least at the time I lived in Long Beach. Now maybe all the hipsters are like, "Oh, Sublime's not great," but there's like a city love for that band. But yeah, it's great music. It's just really good music. Anyhow. So we have got a couple things going on. Oh yeah, okay, so I was telling the story of the vapes. So basically I go to the Dodger Stadium thing. You have to take out all your stuff. A Leafy Sea Dragon. Wait, I gotta show this on screen. Because the spelling makes the joke. He said, a Leafy Sea Dragon is a great UFC name. That's actually great. That should be that'll be the next time you have a UFC character, Jim. You can steal that for your cartoons. For your cute cartoons. So I'm at the little metal detector thing, right? And you have to put everything in this tray to like walk through, to enter the stadium. And I put my vape down there, like my little e-cigarette thing. And they go, "Oh, you have to throw that away." And I don't know why. This was like a week and a half ago, but I was like, you know what? That's a good point. I'm just going to throw this thing away. And I haven't vaped since. So I have been doing like nicotine supplements, kind of like, patches and gum and these little nicotine pouches and stuff just to like keep the nicotine withdrawal away. But I have managed to not vape for about a week and a half. So I've started again trying to cut it out. Because I don't know, it just like for some reason it went through my head of like, well, this is kind of a pain in the butt to have this thing to like lug around with me and I can't bring it anywhere. And then I got a kid and also it's just a really stupid habit. And so I'll just cut it. So that's been interesting. But I have to say, even with excuse me. Whew. Oh, Jim said he's working on episode 4 of the Unicornians. That's great. I have the worst allergies. I don't know if you guys get allergies around this time. Around summer, my allergies go nuts. They go absolutely insane. Like, it's just it's not pretty. The allergy depth of allergies that I deal with. My allergies. But yeah, allergies are no fun. I might have to double up my allergy medicine. Maybe I'll do that at my first hour break here. Okay, so we're doing the hair of Sophie now. A little long-winded process to kind of do all this color, right? These are supposed to be on multiply, so that's good. Okay, there we go. Just wanted to see, every once in a while it's nice to see how it looks with the shading. So anyhow, not to toot my own horn, but that's about a week and a half to 2 weeks that I've just not vaped and been kind of surviving. It's funny when you have a habit like that, though. Like, I was trying to explain it to my wife. Like, it's kind of like you just kind of feel, at least at this point, because I don't think I've fully kicked it yet. So it just kind of feels like you're like mildly hungry all the time. Like, you just feel really like, that's the best explanation I can give to it. It's like it's withdrawals. So you have like just this feeling of being like hungry, and there's this one food that would fill you up, and you can't have it. But I have to say it's been less dramatic than other times where I've tried to quit. This one's, I don't know, this one might stick, because just even the way it came about, it wasn't like a man, I got to do this for my health or other things. It was just kind of like, I'm just kind of tired of doing this stupid thing that is killing my health, So hopefully I can keep it up. At the end of the day, I don't think, I think people get very judgmental of other people's vices, but I do think in general, like, everybody does something stupid. And I think people who judge people who do, like, have a bad habit or something like that tend to be probably, like, hiding a really dark, crazy habit. So, I don't know. I feel like, if you have your vices, you have your vices. As long as they aren't harming other people, who cares? At the end of the day, though, it is interesting trying to kick this, like, stupid habit I picked up, when I was, like, 16 or something. Oh, cool. Jim said episode 4 of the Unicornians is going to be out in a week. I can't wait, man. I've been enjoying that series. I really like... one of the things I've been enjoying about it, too, is watching it, like, kind of serialized, is it takes turns I wasn't expecting. Like, you'll kind of introduce a new character and kind of a new angle to the story. And I can see where the threads are starting to connect, but it's like, it still kind of surprises me with the, the twists and turns of the storyline. I'd love to hear what everybody else is working on, too, if you're watching. So anyhow, needless to say, if you guys believe in Santeria or the power of any sort of supernatural thing, please do some Santeria to help me maintain kicking this terrible habit. Yeah. All right, so what do we got here? We're getting these flats done. Oh, I was going to check out a book on Audible. Because I really enjoy Audible. And I've had like an Audible subscription for like ever, you know, like while I was an art director, it was like about 10 years of just like non-stop like listening to audiobooks, because I had this like crazy long commute doing that job. And so, you know, for about 10 years, just I had like 2-hour drive every day. And so I would listen to like tons of audiobooks, and it was like the coolest thing. And I didn't even realize, because I've been, you know, teaching all year, that I hadn't really listened to an audiobook in like a really long time, because I have like a really short commute to work now. It's like 5 minutes and I'm at work. And so I just like, I wanted to check out a book, so I go to Audible, and I was so surprised to find out, dude, my subscription like ran out. Like I didn't even notice that I hadn't renewed my Audible. So now I got to do that at some point, because I do over the summer, you know, I do think it would be fun to listen to Audible during some parts of the comicking process. Although maybe it's better to not renew, because it's like the nice thing about not renewing is I'll avoid the temptation to not live stream during the creation of these masterful pages that I'm making right now. I don't know why my voice suddenly got like this. All right, so let's see here. Okay. That works. Okay. I was kind of trying to see what I was thinking there, and then I kind of understand it now. So now we've got Sophie's dress. We're getting closer, guys. We almost have a panel fully colored. Almost. So I have to say, Andor was such a good show. Such a good TV show that in the absence of Andor, and I don't watch like a ton of TV, you know, I just, you know, I think I'm in the same boat as a lot of creatives where I'm like, you know, you get too busy making stuff to really pay attention to like the 50 billion, you know, films and stuff that are out there. But Andor was just that good where it's like, I don't have time to watch TV, but I'm going to watch this. And so when that wrapped, I just felt this like void where I was like, wow, I was really enjoying TV. Like, and it kind of reminds me of like another series like Better Call Saul. That's kind of a similar thing where it's just so good that it makes me like really enjoy TV. Like I don't usually get like wildly hooked, but there's occasionally a series that's just so good that like I will make the time to, you know, watch it and stuff. So in the absence of that, I was like used to carving out this little tiny time to watch, you know, Andor every week. Like I'd carve out like an hour here or there, you know, and ended up working my way through it. And so I think it was like last week where I was just like, man, that's crazy. I'm caught up on Andor. The series is over. It was brilliantly concluded. Like, it's like as close to a perfect series as you can get. I'd love to talk to Gary about this because I feel like Gary might kind of be able to have an interesting take on Andor. But I think the only weakness I can think of is there's this kind of like side plot where Cassian ends up on a planet with a TIE fighter. And I don't want to give spoilers for people who maybe haven't watched it yet, but there's this whole Cassian steals a TIE fighter. That's in the trailers. So I'm not giving anything away there. But there's this whole thing where he ends up on a planet and there's a rebel group and it takes like 3 episodes to kind of resolve. They're like a feuding rebel group. I'm not going to get much more into detail, but I feel like that was the only, of the whole series, that was the only point where I feel like maybe they could have tightened it up, shortened it up. Like, I kind of think I understand what they were trying to show, but it was just the only part of the entire series that I felt was kind of lacking. And even that wasn't like bad lacking. Like, there were still good episodes. They were just so much less poignant and directed as the rest of the season. Anyhow, the show was so good that, you know, I sit down like a week or so ago in the absence, in the void of this show I really liked. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try checking out Shogun because I had seen trailers for it. I think it's fascinating. It looks like a really cool show. And you know what? I really have been enjoying Shogun. I think that's a pretty good... it's a good show. Okay. How long have we been going? We've been going an hour. All right, guys. We're at the hour part. I need to finish this selection, and then we will play a trailer. I think I'll play the slightly longer trailer. I think I'll play Frank's Adventures at the Library. That way I'll buy time to get water. And we're going to kind of work our way through. Okay, let's get this bush done, and then I can... Okay, we're going to fill this with magenta while we break. Because that way it's just really easy to kind of pick up that selection if we lose it again. This is where we're at so far. I'd say we're about 1/8 of the way through the page. About 1/8. That's not too bad. If you guys are watching this and you're enjoying it, I'll probably be streaming for another few hours till I finish this. But you know what's greatly appreciated is hitting that like button and making sure that you've hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And then I'm going to do... I think I need to adjust this real quick too. Let's see here. Can we go here and just bring the brightness up just a tiny bit? The contrast up. Yeah, that way it like works with daytime because I'm usually streaming at nighttime. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play a trailer. If you guys haven't yet, again, hit like, hit subscribe. If you want, please feel free to super chat. And here is Frank's Adventures at the Library. I will be right back.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice.
We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves. but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
All right, so that was Frank Salazar, friend of the show. His Adventures at the Library promotion with stop motion, all sorts of wild, amazing things.
Josh,
What's up?
show them how many guitar picks you found.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. Okay, so check this out.
These
Here.
are all the guitar picks I found in the
So
dryer.
when I cleaned the dryer, right? You have to take apart the dryer. Check out what was in the back of the dryer. All of my guitar picks for like 10 years. Because I've always been like, where did all these go? And this is them. Which is wildness. Yeah, there was just like and there was like a ring that like my sister-in-law had lost, and like some change.
It was like $2 and change maybe, but the rest was all guitar.
But it was mostly guitar picks. It was just like non-stop guitar picks, because I usually will put guitar picks in my pocket in like the section of I guess it's like what is that called? In like, it's like a watch, like a watch pocket in jeans. I don't remember what that's called. It's like the little pocket in jeans. What is that called? Is it a watch pocket? A watch pocket? Ah, the things I don't know. Anyhow, I use it as a guitar pick pocket, but the problem is, if it ends up being put in the dryer, or and I forgot to take out the picks, which I do all the time, then it was like a mountain of guitar picks the second I opened it. It was kind of funny. It's like that moment where you find all the left socks, and you're like, that's where they've been going. It's our dogs. They're telling somebody. They're talking to someone. They're very worked up about someone out there, someone outside. I still think it would be funny if dogs were really just like, how dare you, sir? Like if you could translate barks and they just come across like an old British man being like, well, I dare say I'm offended, sir. How dare you? How dare you? How offensive. It's like really like civil disagreement kind of stuff where it's like, I am so offended, sir. No, this is unacceptable. I think I might have colored that the wrong color. Been a long, wrong color. Sorry about the dog noises, guys. But dogs have got a dog. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, so we've got... okay. Okay, good. So it's going to be a fairly long stream of kind of working through these different sections. Did I ever tell you guys, like, when I was in 6th grade, I had, like, the coolest teacher on the planet. He was a great, like, a fantastic teacher. When we got into his class, he had, like, all these stations set up in the room, and he was like, each of these little sections of the room are your habitats. And what you guys are going to do is create, like, environments for, like, creatures that you invent to live in each of these little stations. And then you're going to create the fantasy creature. And then you're going to, you know, write a report on, like, what they eat, what their cultures come from, what kind of habitat they live in. And then he gave us, like, a bunch of, like, you know, foam rubber. And was like, okay, now construct your creatures. Like, you know, it was the coolest thing. So we ended up getting, like, super creative. Like, I think my friend and I came up with, like, it was like a monkey with, like, 5 tails. And we made it out of, like, you know, foam rubber and, like, you know, bought eyes and did all this stuff to, like, create this, like, fake creature. And then we created the environment it lived in. We used, like, cellophane, like blue cellophane to make, like, a waterfall. And, like, he gave us this whole section of the classroom to just kind of create, like an environment. It was super fun. So it was like a side project for, like, the entire year. Was like, okay, now we're going to work on, you know, the habitat. Like, what do they eat? You know, and we're going to make those. It was really cool. And we made, like, puppets in that class. He had us... Man, that was just a wildly cool class. He had us make mummies. But before we made mummies, we were supposed to, like, make these, like, sculptures in class and come up with our own, like, version of hieroglyphics that were, like, our own special language with, like, a decoding kind of Rosetta Stone type thing. And then we put those, all of us put these, like, casts that we had made of these, like, stones where we had carved our language into it, into, like, a giant mummy, like a big paper mache mummy that we made. And then we buried the mummy on campus for, like, future classes to dig up. So they could go on, like, an archaeological dig and, like, find this, like, mummy full of cool, weird languages and see if they could decode them and figure out, you know, the culture that it was. I don't know. He was a great teacher is all I'm saying. That was a really fun class. I don't know what made me think of it. I was just realizing that, like, you know, man, when you have, like, a really good teacher, it kind of sticks with you, you know? All right, so we have these things going, but the cool thing was, like, we made, like, crazy puppets. Like, I have pictures of these things somewhere in the garage, but, like I remember making a life-size puppet. It was like a Muppet type character, but it was, like, life-size. And then we used, like, a steel chair, you know, like a folding chair. So the puppet had like a dress, and it was a life-size like grandma puppet with like a big, curly grandma hair. And then what you would do is you'd reach behind the folding chair, like that little gap in a folding chair. You'd reach in there and then up, and like you'd hide under the skirt of the puppet, and then you'd be able to make the puppet talk. And people would like be like, adults actually got kind of confused by it. Like they were like, "How is this thing like running?" And as a kid, you're like hiding, behind this puppet, like he, I know how it's running. It was really cool. He was a cool teacher. The fact that he like facilitated such a creative environment was really cool. And the guy who plays drums for No Saboteurs had that exact class with me. It's one of the things that really made us extremely close friends. Was like being in this like extremely creative classroom, Yeah, he was just like a really cool teacher. And he'd always like, use those things to like teach something greater. Like, when we were coming up with our own taxonomy and stuff for these animals, he was teaching us about animals and kingdoms and phylums and classes and stuff. You know what I mean? And like he used that really fun project to like get you to absorb like what it is about those things for animals. I don't know. I just think that's really cool. I wonder if you guys had teachers like that. Yeah, that was my 6th grade teacher. He's one of my favorite teachers. I still remember his name, Mr. Mura. He was amazing. Okay, we are working on comics, ladies and gentlemen. The thing about flatting, it just takes a long time to flat color. But we'll get there. We'll get there real quick. It's going to be sooner rather than later. Okay, let's get this. Let's see if there's any part. Yes, there is, where I show the. There is there. All right, let's get. Okay, let's get this here. They seek him here. They seek him there. There used to be, I can't remember what TV series this was, but there was like a short TV series. I just don't remember who did it, but we used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. Well, I guess not a kid, like a teenager. It was like a televised version of The Scarlet Pimpernel, and it was like amazing. Like it was a really, really incredible series. And we had taped it, like we had videotaped it, because back in the day, old people to watch TV shows like would have to tape them on VHS while they were live on TV. Anyway, so I remember we used to watch that specific version of the Scarlet Pimpernel like over and over again. Like it was a really good series. But what dawned on me a couple days ago was that I don't really remember the plot of the Scarlet Pimpernel. Like, I think he was saving... Like, I think he was, like, kind of cosplaying as a wealthy guy while he was saving rich people from the guillotine, I think. I just can't remember what the plot was. So I kind of wouldn't mind rewatching that just to kind of see... But I'd have to like look it up and find out which series it was. But it was really good, is all I'm saying. At the time, I think it was good. But now I'm wondering, like, is Who is the Scarlet Pimpernel? Like, what? What was the gist of it? Was it that he was saving rich people from the guillotine, or that he was like a double agent? Okay. I feel like he was a double agent, but it's been a long time, so I need to recap it. But I do have a poster that my dad designed for USC when he used to work at USC doing graphic design of the Scarlet Pimpernel. It's like right above my let's see. There it is. Kind of hard to see, but it's right above my drawing desk. All right. We're getting there, ladies and gents. Oh, I wasn't supposed to move. Okay, let's get the next section. I'm going to do these eyes here. This teacup. Now, I don't remember how I colored the centerpiece thing on this table, so I need to look at that too. But first, let's get the chair. The cha. Where was that Neanderthal thing you were watching yesterday? Where was that located? Kurdistan. Yeah,
Was it cave?
yeah, my wife was watching a awesome documentary on
Secrets of Neanderthal.
Neanderthals, and it was called The Secret of Neanderthals. And it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was all about like this archaeological dig in Kurdistan. And then it kind of went into Chevet Cave a little bit too. But I was kind of just talking about like what they learned about Neanderthals and stuff from these digs. It was really interesting. It was really quite fabulous. Okay. So here's the thing. I might have to make some coffee. If I make some coffee, I might have to play a little break thing. Where are we at for time? I think that'll work. I might have to play a couple of these break things. Let's go ahead and get this dress too. Get the dress here. All right. And then I think we can get maybe the tablecloth. Let's just go a little further before I go brew some coffee. But that might take a little bit to brew coffee. So it's just looking at this this table and these little teacups. I'm like, I want coffee. Guess I still have a little bit left. All right. All right. We're getting our tablecloth here selected. Just kind of working on colors. Kind of making that selection. And now we can move past it a little bit. The fun part about flatting, though, and coloring is it does kind of get, like, kind of meditative in a weird way, where you can kind of zone out and make cool stuff. Let's see here. Okay. I'm going to do this. Let's get that thing here. Do. Selecting this kind of teapot thing. Oh, I thought I had deselected the white on there, but I hadn't. That's okay. We'll kind of make it work. So I am kind of curious how the Dodgers are going to do today. I don't want to talk too much about baseball, but I'm interested in it now. I'm curious how we're going to do. Because we got destroyed by San Diego. Like yesterday. We got crushed heavily. So I'm just curious how we're gonna fare today. I think, am I crazy? I feel like we're playing San Francisco today. I'll have to double check when the game is. It might have already started. I'll check my like MLB app, but I hope we can pull it together. I saw something really interesting. There's this guy Shohei Ohtani, who is one of the most incredible baseball players of all time. And one of the things that makes him unique is that he is a heavy-hitting batter and a extremely talented pitcher at a major league level. And there hasn't been a player that can both pitch and hit like to that extent since like the old days, like 40s, 30s and 40s, in baseball. But it's at just such a more dramatic level. He's just a really unique player. So anyhow, the cool thing is Shohei has been, I think, warming up and getting closer and closer to pitching. So within a month or so, we might actually see Shohei not only being a heavy hitter, but he might pitch for the Dodgers as well, which would be pretty pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's one of my favorite bits in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Is the main character will kind of have this moment of, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. No, you know what? I'll finish this panel. I'll finish this panel and then I'll break to make coffee. Okay. I need to keep rocking here. Okay. What do I have? Okay, I see what's going on. Okay. Okay. So this is like gonna be the sleeves. Is it the whole blouse or just the sleeves? Okay, I see. So these all kind of go to this lighter pink up to this spot. Okay, and then these I'll kind of do a similar thing here. Okay, now we want to do the darker pink, I believe. One thing I would like to do today for like 15 or 20 minutes would be to work on some solo music. So maybe I'll do that before I get going on the next page. Like whenever I'm done with this. Like when I finish this, I might spend maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes breaking from this comic project to just kind of record some music for a little bit. I have 2 songs. I don't know if I've played those yet for you guys. Let me see if I have them. It might be fun to listen to those. Let me see. Is it, okay. Huh. Thought I had more than that. I actually thought I had more than that done, but let me see if that's me being crazy. Huh. Sorry, I'm checking. Oh, that is fascinating. So I don't know if I ever did I like lose the master of it, because I thought I had masters. of the mixdowns, but maybe not. I'm gonna have to look into that. I might have lost the masters. But anyhow, let's see if let me see if I can get these on here. I don't know if I've uploaded them yet, but it might be fun to listen to these. Let's see here. Throw these on here. Give me like 2 seconds. I'm just looking for something right now. Ah. Okay, that might have actually been... Okay, so let me see... 2024... Let's see if these are the right ones. Oh, that's not it. Okay, sorry. I know this is not the most exciting thing in the world. I just got sidetracked with being kind of curious if I still had the master's file or if I had lost it. I kind of have to wonder. These ones are from 119. Let's find out. Okay, that's more modern ones. Trying to see. So it looks like I might have somehow lost my my master file. Not super fun. That is bizarre. Well, I must have lost the master file, so I'll have to ask about that. Because I had the two masters. I had the two masters of these songs. I'm so sorry, guys. This is not the most entertaining thing in the world. I was just pulling it up, and I have everything all nicely organized and stuff on my desktop, and I'm like, how did I lose the master for that? That's craziness. So there's no wave file. Oh. Well, okay. Well, I have the unmastered ones. The masters sound a lot better, but I might have to contact my buddy to see if we have them. So let's play these. Let's play some songs and let's finish up this track, this thing, so that I don't get so distracted. So here is one song from my upcoming solo album, unmastered, of course.
Is filled with populations and stratas, but you're more than number to me. You are the best of compilation on an album, yeah, mix of all the best songs that were written out of millions of people. I'm a dot in the data. The fact you found me among them makes me feel like it matters. Fractal patterns, lenses, shadows. than we're one in a million. In constellations, an army full of civilians. Yeah, we're more than a number collectively. We are the best of compilation on an album, yeah, mix of all the best songs that were written out of millions of people. I'm a dot in the data. The fact you found me among them makes me feel like it matters. Don't wanna go it alone. 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 Fractal patterns, lenses shattered, tactile caverns, nothing matters. If I could see the light in the road before we explode and erase like smoke. Wish I could see the light in the road before we explode. Fractal patterns, lenses shattered, tactile caverns, nothing matters. If I could see the light in the road before we explode and erase like smoke. Wish I could see the light in the road before we explode. Don't wanna go it alone. Don't wanna go it alone. Don't wanna go it alone. Don't wanna go it alone.
All right, so that's one of the songs that, was for like the newer thing. And let me see if I can find the other track. Okay, here's the second song I have. And these are the only ones I have so far for the solo one. So here it is. Okay, so I'm definitely missing some songs because I just realized like this is missing some pretty like serious amounts of stuff because I have vocals on that and stuff. So I'm missing some files that I'm gonna have to like hunt down because that is somewhat unusual to have that have just like disappeared. I guess I don't know. Very strange. So I'm gonna have to like kind of hunt down what happened there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hunt down whatever happened there with that album, because I have like 2 mastered tracks and that has vocals on it and stuff. So I guess in the interim that I've been kind of recording, and the slight break that I had from it, I must have lost some files or misplaced them or something. Sorry, I thought I had some cool stuff to play for you guys, but apparently not. I'm not sure what. I guess that line is supposed to signify. Okay, so we're not quite there yet with this. What is that line supposed to be? What was that supposed to be? It just kind of doesn't make sense that I put a line there. I'm going to get rid of that line. So that line just does not make a lot of sense. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, okay, so let's finish up the door here. Door is going to be this color. All right. That is strange. I wonder if I put them in the files or something like with music. Oh. Now I kind of want to see. Music. Solo 6. Solo 7. Solo 8. Okay, so I do have the files. I just don't quite know what happened with the those MP3s. That's bizarre. Or the final mixes. So that is what is missing. I will find them at some point. Okay, well, I'm glad I kind of figured that out because that'll be good if I do end up revisiting that solo album. But that was a big distraction from what I should be focusing on, which is getting this done. All right, what do we got here? Shift F5. Boom. Let's get this part done. The fun part about this is once I have this all transferred to one panel, then it'll be a little quicker to do the next panel because I can just reference the old panel. Let's see here. I want to go to the pencil. Let's see here. All right, we're getting there, guys. This kind of purple guy. And lastly, the last flower. The last flower that stood. All right, here it is. how is it looking so far? It's coming along. It's just taking a while, guys. It's taking a while. Okay. We have to do... I drop this. And let's get through this. And let's do our... this guy. Okay, this is supposed to go here. We got to kind of get the skin here. And then I think at this point we can get this corner right here. And now we can just get the dress and the back of that table or chair. And you guys, weirdly enough, I might have to end the stream when I finish this. One panel. I thought I was going to make it through the page through the whole stream, but I might need to just finish this one specific panel because I'm getting a little hungry. Hey, Gary Hodges, how's it going? I was just talking about Andor, Gary, and I wanted to know your take on how you felt about the whole TIE Fighter, the stolen TIE Fighter crashing on, well, not crashing, exchange on the planet, and then the rebel groups. How did you feel about that plotline? I felt like I love Andor. I think it's probably as close to a perfect show as you're going to get. But that particular plotline felt like the only kind of waste writing that I saw in the entire show. What is your take? What is your thought, Gary, on when the TIE Fighter is stolen, he lands on the planet and is caught between two disagreeing rebel factions? I'm curious about your opinion on that, because I felt like that might be the weakest part of the whole series. I understand what they were trying to establish. It's a very small complaint because I do feel like it's a very excellent series. But just that one part felt a little bit like waste. All right, these are going to be the sleeves, the sleeveys, where Washington keeps his armies. We're going to get that done. And what do we got for the back? That's going to be this as well. Where is it? Oh, okay. I kind of think I see what. Okay, and then this is gonna go here, and we're gonna have this be the darker shade. Oh. Interesting. Okay. The incompetent rebels art didn't totally work for me. Like you, I get it, and I think it's a good idea, especially if you interacted with dopey infighting allies, but it felt too long. I agree. I think they just and here's the thing: any other TV show, fine episode, like not bad, you know. But for a show that's so perfect. It's the only place I can really find like waste in the writing or editing. Like everything else felt so intentional and so perfectly paced. The show is so good that even episodes that otherwise would be fairly good episodes just feel less good because they're just not as tight and perfect. Like, you know what it felt like? It felt kind of like one of those scenes where, like, maybe a producer or somebody was like, maybe like a producer or relative of somebody funding the show was like in the cast of those like warring rebels, you know? So they're like, all right, if you fund our like final, you know, sequence that needs this much budget, then like, yeah, we'll extend this out an episode so your like nephew can have more screen time. That's kind of what it felt like. Because even some of the dialogue sequences with those characters felt like, are they just trying to like give these guys a little bit of screen time? Yeah, yeah, the bar was set so bad that good is just not good enough. Like, but I think that's a testament to how good that series is. I love The Wire. I think The Wire is one of my favorite TV series of all time. And I like all 3 seasons. Like, a lot of people don't like all 3 seasons, but I like all 3 seasons. I understand what they were trying to do. It was a pretty brilliant show. But there is some waste in The Wire, and I would criticize The Wire, and The Wire is pretty close to a perfect television show, right? I think Andor got even closer to a perfect television show. But, yeah, I think that was like one episode too long. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he was saying it was touched on in season 1 when you had Saji Guerrera or whatever saying he was the best rebel. Yeah. And I think the infighting's okay. I mean, it's like, it's kind of showing this, I don't know. To me, it seemed like showing the significance of the of the alliance, right? Because it's like the Rebel Alliance is a huge step, like allying these splinter factions and stuff. Also showing like the less intelligent, because even the kind of dumb divisions that exist that had been shown so far in Andor prior to those episodes were like pretty smart rebels. They just disagreed, right? They were pretty smart people just kind of having disagreements. This was, I guess, showing kind of like that even when you have like a just movement, you can have like kind of morons that not only are failing to see the big picture, but just in general probably aren't really doing a lot of help with the rebellion in general. Like, might do more harm than good. Like, maybe if they just bowed out of it. So the idea is important, but they could have just executed. Like, I think they could have executed it better. And again, it did feel like maybe a relative of some producer. Like, I'd be curious to see if the actors in that episode, if one of them's like related to, like, maybe they're like Disney royalty kind of character where they're like, okay, we got to give this guy, dude, the mouse will give us more money if we show another scene with this guy. So let's write a script that goes a little longer so they get their dialogue in and we get our funding. Because the other thing is just the kind of long dialogue scenes. Oh, there is one thing I did like about it, though. Well, there's a couple things. I like the idea of it. I get what they were trying to say. And then the second thing was, it was funny when they solved their dispute with pretty much rock, scissors, papers. That was kind of amazing. Oh, Gilroy said the idea came from listening to his son and a friend argue over dinner and thinking they were dumb. Okay, guys. I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna kind of break for lunch, and then I will come back. So I was hoping to blast through the entirety of the page, but right now what we have is one finished panel, and I will finish the other panels on a stream later today in like maybe a half an hour. So thanks to you guys for showing up. If you haven't yet, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And I will see you guys on the next live stream, which will be in probably 30 minutes to an hour. All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's live stream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream.